Colin, a compassionate 32-year-old social worker, had always believed in the transformative power of love. She poured her heart into her work, helping those in need and guiding them through their struggles. Her own life, however, was far from the happy story she wished for. Colin met Jason, a 35-year-old engineer, at a charity event. His charm and intelligence were irresistible, and their connection was instant. Jason seemed to be everything Colin had hoped for, a supportive partner who shared her values and dreams. Their romance was intense and filled with promises of a bright future together. As their relationship deepened, they decided to move in together. At first, it seemed like a fairy tale. Jason was affectionate and attentive, and Colin cherished their moments together. However, the charm soon began to fade, revealing a darker side of Jason that Colin hadn't anticipated. The first sign of trouble came when Jason became frustrated one evening because dinner wasn't ready on time. His anger was sharp, and his words cut deep. Colin was stunned. She had never imagined that Jason could act this way. He stormed out, leaving Colin in tears. When he returned, he was apologetic, expressing remorse and love in equal measure. He promised that it would never happen again, and Colin, hopeful and forgiving, chose to believe him. But as time went on, the pattern became clear. Jason's outbursts were sporadic but intense. One day, when Colin had been busy with work and hadn't managed to do the laundry, Jason's temper flared. In a fit of rage, he smacked Colin, the impact leaving her both physically and emotionally bruised. Once again, he quickly apologized, saying how much he loved her and how his temper was a result of stress and frustration. To keep Jason calm and prevent further outbursts, Colin began frequently inviting friends and family over. The house was always bustling with activity. And while it provided temporary respite from Jason's anger, it also masked the reality of their home life. Colin's friends and family noticed the strain she was under. They grew increasingly concerned, urging her to leave Jason and find safety and happiness elsewhere. Colin was torn. Her love for Jason had not diminished, and she clung to the belief that he could change. The love he showed in his calmer moments made it difficult for her to see a way out. Every apology and promise seemed sincere, and she wanted to believe in the possibility of change. One evening, as Colin hosted a small gathering, she observed Jason's interactions with their guests. He was charming and polite, a stark contrast to the man who lashed out behind closed doors. As the night wore on and the guests left, Colin sat alone with Jason. He was distant and cold, his earlier warmth vanishing as soon as they were alone. The realization hit Colin with a crushing weight. Her friends' warnings and her own mounting fears were impossible to ignore. She began to see that the cycle of anger and remorse was not a healthy relationship dynamic but a sign of deeper issues that Jason was not ready to address. That night, Colin made a difficult decision. She knew she needed to prioritize her own well-being and safety. With a heavy heart, she packed a few essential belongings and left a note for Jason. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she had to take a step towards reclaiming her own life and dignity. As Colin walked away from the house that had become a prison of her own making, she felt a mix of sadness and relief. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about the possibility of a future where she could heal and rediscover herself. Romance Unscripted podcast brought to you by 𝓣𝓻𝓮 Media. Leave a comment.